if you want to support the show, any of the shows, either this or whichever show, I'm not on right now because this is just a blanket ad for all of them, and the website, you can go to bewareofspoilers.com. In the description for any of the episodes of Beware of Spoilers, there is the option to donate. If you don't want to donate that way, you can donate directly through the website. We do have that, mwpnews.com. And if you don't want to support that way, then going to mwpnews.com will help out because we have ads there. We don't want to keep it, where there's a lot of ads. There's a few ads. But the point is we want to make it so that way, we can sustain this for the long term. If people donate, we're never going to paywall anything, I don't think, as of right now. But if people, if people start donating, we'll start doing cooler and cooler stuff. Like donations are how we get to cover stuff like Tribeca and other, film festivals. And, we may be able to bring on more people to help out. So if you want to help out the show and you want more content from us, by all means, even just going and giving us a 5-star rating on Spotify helps out a lot. But that's it. That's the only ad we'll have on the podcast ever. But here's whatever podcast you're going to be listening to. Good evening and welcome to Beware of Spoilers. I am Adam with a enticing burrito sitting next to me on the seat because I went and got a burrito after I went to see this movie. And this asshole just, really, if I'm going straight and you're pulling out of a parking spot, I have the right of way. Especially, I understand if I have to slow down because you're backing up like an asshole, or I want to say like an asshole, because if you didn't pull all the way through the spot, it's like you didn't really do anything wrong. But if you're just backing out blindly, I will slow down just because I don't want to get hit by you backing out. If you're pulling forward and I'm driving straight, you do not have the right of way. Anyway, I'm not going to turn this into a rant like I did this morning. I apologize for that. I was a little frustrated. But here we are with The Wild Robot, a movie that I went into with probably the highest expectations of any movie coming out this year. Besides maybe Dune Part 2. Because I had very high expectations for that as well. And I think that this movie, short of Lord of the Rings, War of the Rohirrim being absolutely fantastic, is absolutely a shoo-in for a guaranteed Best Animated Feature win. The animation is fantastic. The emotional moments all hit. I think the best endorsement I can give, it's not even an endorsement I can give, there's a woman sitting a few rows ahead of me. And that's kind of the thing with this movie, is that they got a lot of traction when the trailer first came out, because the trailer came out, I was like, holy fuck, this looks great. Like this movie about this robot that, goes native and joins up with these, with these animals that are living in this, on this island. And people were like, holy fuck, this is going to be a contender for Best Movie of the Year. And to that end, I went to the screening tonight, and it was entirely adults and college-age students. And I'm like, God, this is nice. Like, we're not treating this like it's a second-class kind of movie, because it's animated. I appreciate that. But to that end, it's like I watched this, and there was a woman a few rows ahead of me. And that was the other thing too, is there was a lot of singles seeing this. It was not a lot of couples or groups. It was it wasn't a full theater. I would say it was about a quarter of the way full, because it was a 3D showing. There was an IMAX showing about an hour later, and then if you're not me and you don't have to work tomorrow, or you have class tomorrow, or whatever, probably the thought process was let's just see the IMAX or see the Dolby that started a little bit sooner if you're a student or something like that. But if you're me and you're trying to get in there early, or at a time that fits into your work schedule, you end up doing the time I went to at 6:35, and it was mostly singles, about a quarter filled, all people all people who were like college age or older, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting for an animated feature. That's rare. And to that end, this woman who was sitting a few rows in front of me, at 3 separate occasions in this movie, started loudly sobbing. Because the emotional moments hit so well. And that's the thing, too, is that it's like, I've been vocal on this show before. You've heard me talk about things like I'm not ashamed to admit, like, if a movie makes me cry, I will say, like, I cried watching, like, Bao was one, In the Heights, like, the number one, like, In the Heights twice got me, and, what was it, Christopher Robin didn't, but I was expecting it to, but, yeah, this is one that, what was the movie I saw, like, 3 weeks ago, not even 2 weeks ago, and I didn't even really talk about it because I was so pissed off at Warner Brothers last week. Superman, the Christopher Reeve story, made me cry. And this one on 2 separate occasions. It didn't get me all 3, but it did get me twice. And God, this is just such a beautifully executed movie about a story of this robot that takes on the maternal role to this little goose. And has to learn what that means, and kind of it felt like there was that short film that I lambasted a few years ago, the dog, the mitten, the sword, and the wolf, or whatever the fuck it was, that was like an Apple TV production. If you want Apple TV, you can watch it. It's pretty long, and it's like, it felt a little like that, but with actual substance, which is why I was like, oh, this is fucking great. Yeah, because that was the one that I thought was going to win because of Robin. And I was like, no, I think the windshield wiper should have... No, the windshield wiper did beat it. I don't know, whatever. I'm off on a tangent. It's beautifully animated. I saw it in 3D. I would very much recommend seeing it in 3D, because I think that, like, here's the thing, too, and let's game out a little bit the best animated feature race this year. I think Inside Out 2 is a shoo-in for a nomination. So that's 2 of them right there. I'm trying to think what other animated movies have come out this year that could make a strong showing at this. I think Moana is kind of an easy choice to say is going to be in there. I think Despicable Me 4 is another kind of easy choice. But I think it's going to come down to this or Inside Out 2 or Lord of the Rings. And I think that this is going, like, fundamentally it's going to come down to this or Lord of the Rings. I mean, unless that, they somehow, I don't think it's likely because Shonen tends not to, but, like, I'm thinking of other anime movies, and it's like, there's no, like, Suzumi or the first Slam Dunk or anything like that really kind of, or the boy and the Heron from last year. There's nothing like that really stands out to me this year where it's like, oh, that could make a strong showing from the international market. Nothing comes to mind immediately. So it's going to come down to, I think it's going to come down to this or Lord of the Rings, because I think the thing with Inside Out 2 is I really liked Inside Out 2. I don't think it was quite, it was relatable, but I don't think it was quite as emotionally charged. I think the portrayal of anxiety was great, but at the end of the day, it's a Pixar movie, and it's visually a Pixar movie, and I don't think there's too much done in this movie to make it visually inventive. The Wild Robot, and I think this is one of those things that, like, we've been seeing more and more in the video game space, where it's like, as, Unreal has kind of become this, easy-to-use thing with a lot of, assets that are cheap, we're seeing a lot of independent games that look kind of the same. And the trend toward realistic graphics is, if you're not doing it hyper realistic or with an established brand, it just kind of looks like, for me, I don't associate that with quality anymore. Unless we are talking like, oh, this is God of War, or oh, this is The Last of Us, or, oh, this is Spider-Man, or and I mean, or something like that. What I look to more now in terms of my video game consumption is give me something stylized. Give me something that you've put effort into making, a world that's unique and fun to play in. And I think that that's kind of where I stand too with these animated features. Like, Pixar's great, and I love a good Pixar movie, and we got a good one this year. The Wild Robot blew it out of the water, though, with this just gorgeous style that kind of looks like weirdly kind of hand-drawn, but not really, and it's 3D, but also it's got this storybook quality to it. It's so well done. Lupita Nyong'o is great as Roz. I think she does a great job in the robot role, putting in just the right amount of emotion into what she's saying. And I think too, it's like it's a message of unity. It's a story of, and I think it's again, we're not seeing getting bogged down in the world. We know just enough about the world to kind of make the story flow, where it's like, oh, where are the humans? The humans are all in these pods. Why are the humans in the pods? Doesn't really matter. Don't think about it too hard. What's the Roz robot doing? Who gives a shit? It doesn't matter. Because, we're here to see the relationship between the robot and the baby, and then the baby, and it's weird too. And not that weird thinking about it, because I feel like we are a baby away from in Fantastic Four from just being like, all right, so Pedro Pascal this is just his role, like adopted father to random things across across movies. It's like, oh look, we need someone to play the adoptive father who's kind of scummy but not really, and has to learn to be loved. Who should we get for this? Who's gonna play the fucking fox? Oh wait, it's Pedro Pascal. That makes sense. And look, I mean, the 3 seasons and plus a movie of The Mandalorian, plus The Last of Us, plus, this guy has gotten time to hone this down to a science, so good for him. He deserves his flowers, though he did a great job here. And I like, too, the way that everyone's kind of afraid of the robot, and then they all start to come to accept it, and it's like, look, the robot's not doing anything. The robot is just here to kind of try and help. Like, all the robot was here to do was try to help. And that was, like, there's like, the movie's an anti-xenophobia movie. It's, and this is the kind of thing you wouldn't get out of Warner Brothers. The DreamWorks logo. Can I just say, I don't know if they've used this logo before, because I think the last movie to come out from DreamWorks was it The Nice Guy or The Bad Guys? Or was there something after that? Puss in Boots. Or Puss in Boots is the last one. Or maybe that was, I don't know. Either way, it's like that logo is fantastic. And I love this new trend of like, oh, the logo is going to be a collection of the iconography from our various franchises. I love that. Like, you get that with Marvel Studios, you get that with Disney a little bit now. And now with DreamWorks, where it's like you get all of these things, and it's like, oh, they have Madagascar represented in there. Like, you can't ignore that. It's like, yeah, How to Train Your Dragon is there. Yeah, The Bad Guys is there. Like, and then it's like, of course, you got to have Madagascar, and then it ends on Shrek, and it's like it kind of melds in with the Shrek theme. And I was like, God damn, like, that nostalgia hits very well. And I think that didn't hurt the experience too, because that immediately puts me in the right headspace for this, where it's like, this is a movie I'm gonna like because I like the Shrek movie. Like, and I know it's dumb and it sounds really stupid, but it's one of those. It's the same thing with like the music from the Marvel Studios logo, where it's like once that starts playing, it's like this. It's like a Pavlovian kind of response. It's like I know what I'm here for, or the noises of the the lamp from the Pixar logo, jumping on the eye, and it's that kind of thing where it's like, oh, I associate this with things I already like. I'm going to appreciate what I'm going to be seeing here, and I think that's something that does help a little bit, and I'm here for it. But yeah, The Wild Robot is just fantastic. It's a very simple story. It's not a robust or anything where you're going to be sitting here like, well, who was this one? What were they doing? You have this robot that washes up on shore. Its role is to help. It ends up accidentally, killing a mother goose and all the eggs but one. So it assumes parental custody of the one egg. Because Catherine O'Hara tells her to. Or was that Catherine O'Hara who told her to? I think... Yeah, because she plays a possum. And that was a great recurring bit through the whole thing too, is the possums and the baby possums all playing dead. Such a funny recurring bit through the entire thing, where it's like they, at one point they're up in the tree talking. It's like her and look, I got my 7 kids, and then you hear like a scream and like this thing getting attacked, and she's like 6 kids. Okay, like it's great. The whole movie is just fantastic. I think. My only concern is I don't want to see Stephanie Sue start to get kind of typecast into the same kind of thing, but whatever. She's great too as the evil robot at the end. But yeah, I mean, check out The Wild Robot. I really appreciate what they're doing here, and I think we, as an audience, we should reward them taking a big swing. Taking a big swing on an art style and not just using the same kind of thing we've always seen before, we know always works. Taking a big swing on, this is a new franchise. This is not the same thing over and over again. This is not a sequel. This is us taking a risk and doing something different. Because that's kind of the thing we've been seeing with Hollywood more and more lately. I talk about this a lot. The risk-averse nature of Hollywood that we've seen, where we want franchises. And yes, it's great that we want franchises, but franchises did not start out as guaranteed money. You do not get the Marvel Cinematic Universe without taking a massive risk on having Jon Favreau, the guy who directed Elf, direct Iron Man with Robert Downey Jr., who he had to pay out of his own pocket to cover the insurance because he was such a risk. You do not get Star Wars without the amount of risk that went into Lucas making that movie. You do not get Toy Story without the amount of risk that Pixar did. And look, Inside Out 2 is a risk. Deadpool 3, Deadpool was a risk. And it's easy to point to these and be like, oh, well, we're not really taking, like, Shrek was a risk. And, Despicable Me was a risk. Anytime you launch a new IP or a new movie, it's a risk. And to that end, we need more risk takers. We need more studios to take risks, and when they take a risk and it pays off, I'm not saying that we need to show up for every piece of shit that comes out, even if it's not good. We need to, when they take a risk and they do a good job with it, that needs to be rewarded, and not just rewarded in a way where it's like, oh, we'll watch it when it comes on streaming, because this will be on Peacock in reasonably short order, because Peacock, is, it is, it's the streaming service for Universal, so this will end up on Peacock really soon. But look, we don't need to sit here and wait for it to go to streaming. Go out and see this movie in a theater. Reward them taking a big swing. Reward them for putting trust in a creative team that was going to create something great. And you know what? That's how we get more of this. Like, yeah, it's great. You can post about it on social media. Yeah, it's great. You can talk about it. You can do whatever. Go physically to a theater and see this movie on the biggest and largest screen possible. That's what we need to do. Like, as a collective, we need to go out there and see this movie on the biggest screen possible. If we want more things like this, we need to tell them we'll pay to see more things like this, because they're not like, look, this movie can be the best movie ever. It can go out and win an Oscar, but do you know how many Oscar-winning movies that were meant to be the start of franchises just kind of die on the vine because people don't go and support them in the beginning? And I'm not saying I want this to be a franchise. This movie ends in such a place that if I never go back to this world, I will be more than content to just live with this movie. But if you want to be barraged with endless Jurassic Park, with endless Fast and Furious, if you want to complain about that, then fine. If you want to, but I don't want to just complain. I would rather have something better to replace it. if we're going to get rid of something. And let's elevate something and not just tear other things down. Elevate this. Go see this in the theater. We'll wrap up there for today. Our next episode will be tomorrow morning. We'll be talking about The Penguin, the new movie from the new episode of the TV show set in the world of Matt Reeves' The Batman. And after that, we'll be talking about in the evening Francis Ford Coppola's new movie, Metropolis, whatever the fuck the name of that movie is. You know what I'm talking about. The movie that's got the fucking, Adam Driver standing there with that fucking thing that I remember. I don't remember the name of it, but that tool that we had to use in fucking tech ed in high school, where you use it to create a straight line using the side of the table. But he's like, I'm like, right on. I remember that thing. And I'm very interested to see this movie. And we'll be talking about that tomorrow night. But until our next episode, have a great rest of your week. And I apologize for the ending here because I got to find the button.